Chris from the Fulcrum Kitchen, and today we've received a load of beautiful herbs that have just come in, fresh herbs, just been delivered, and these are going to be going out to our charities. So I just wanted to share a few ideas on the best way to use and also to store herbs, because a lot of people get them, they use them for the recipe they want them for, and then after that they sit in the fridge and they go a little bit off, and it's a shame to waste it. So I'm just going to talk through a few of the little herbs that we've got. So we've got some beautiful fresh mint here. And again, like I say, at the end of this, I'll share some sort of ideas on pairing flavours and things like that. So beautiful fresh mint. We've got some thyme here. We've got coriander, one of my favourites. Basil as well. And then we've got some rosemary. So a little sort of rule of thumb, just bear in mind some herbs we class as sort of soft herbs. So things like, for example, your basil, your coriander would be classed as sort of soft herb, mint if you like as well. Certainly the leaf side of it. And then your more woody herbs are things like the thyme and the rosemary. Okay, but they've all got their own uses, but it's just in terms of how you actually store them. So, first things first, with your basil, when you get your basil, if it's not living basil, so it's not already in a pot of soil, just get a cup of water, trim the ends off, and you can store it in the water. Now, if you leave that out on the side, it's actually going to start to grow its own roots, and then you can plant it into some soil, propagate it, and you'll end up with your own basil bush, and you can just basically trim off the basil that you need for the recipe then. It really grows quite well. Things like coriander, now when it comes it's quite damp, so don't wash it there and then. If you're going to store it, put it into a dry bit of kitchen paper like that, put it on the kitchen paper, and then basically just wrap it up, keep it in the fridge, and it'll actually absorb into the kitchen paper any moisture, and then wash it just before you use it, obviously, same as you would with all your herbs. With mint, same again, if it's quite damp the leaves, just roll it in some dry kitchen paper, and then obviously from there you can store that in the fridge. With things like thyme, if you get them and they're quite dry, they're just drying out the buds, basically put it in a bit of damp kitchen paper. So get your kitchen towel, slightly dampen it, roll it up tight, put it in a plastic bag, store it in the fridge, and then that will keep nice and fresh as well. Rosemary is quite robust again, you can keep this in the fridge. I normally keep it in a bit of kitchen paper again, in a Ziploc bag. And that's just a few little ways of actually storing your herbs, guys. So we'll talk a little bit about what you can actually use these for, because they're absolutely wonderful. They bring loads of flavour, different dynamics to dishes, and they're absolutely fantastic. Now another little thing as well is things like coriander and basil. If you look, you've got all the sort of stalks there, and often people pick off the leaves and they just use the leaves for decorating dishes and what have you. But there's a load of flavour in the stalks, so chop the stalks down as well, add them into things like your salads and your soup, stews, whatever you might be using it for. But yeah, use the stalks as well. However, that said, you wouldn't want to use the stalks for things like rosemary for eating in salads, because you'd be chewing on them for a fortnight. So basically what you can do with these is, if I just show you, get your stalk, pull all the leaves off, and then when you're left with the stalk like that, you can just trim off the end, and because it's barbecue season, you could thread things on like prawns, chicken on there, pop them in the barbecue, and you're going to get all the flavour from the stalks as well. So again, don't use them. Things like thyme, when the buds start to dry out, you can actually just rub them in your hands on top of dishes, salads and what have you. Absolutely delicious. Really, really nice flavour. And like I say, with your basil as well, going back to that, chop the stalks, put them in things like salads. But when you pick the leaves off, if you're going to use them in recipes, don't be tempted to use a knife, because you'll blacken the leaves. So just tear basil, okay? So a little tip for you there. And then on mint, this is something we've covered before. Mint's probably one of my most favourite herbs. But to get the most out of it, all you want to do is on a surface, give it a bit of a bash, and it'll release all the natural oils. And it smells absolutely fantastic. And again, use these in recipes. Obviously we know that things like mint go really well with lamb, but use them in water with lemons, limes, get nice fruit flavoured water there as well. Coriander, used a lot in Asian cuisine, really, really fragrant. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's delicious. Finely chop it, stalks and all, put it into things like your curries, stir fries there, amazing them. Rosemary, once again, going back to that, chop the lovely leaves off there, all those bits, yeah, chop them really, really fine. You can stud these and things like lamb with some garlic as well. But to be honest with you, I often cook things like beef, roast beef, all the herbs underneath as well, just to get a bit of flavour. So it's quite versatile. You can make lovely oils, basil oil, yeah. So just experiment with your herbs, guys. There's loads of ideas. Like I say, at the end of this, I'll put up a few little screens with some flavour pairing combinations and some ideas as well. But hopefully that's given you a little idea of how you can store your herbs, what you can use them for. Get adventurous, guys. Share your ideas in the comments below of what you want to use your herbs for. These are going out to the wonderful charities partners. They'll be making some wonderful things with them. So if you like what you've seen, guys, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and happy cooking.